Hello and welcome. Transforming societies through using technology. One of the more interesting examples in India is the Unique Identification Authority of India, and the Adhaar platform as it's called. But how can technology fundamentally transform people's lives, particularly the many hundreds of millions of poor people in India? Joining me to discuss that is Nandan Nilekani, Chairman of the Unique Identification Authority of India and also Infosys co-founder, former. Nandan, thank you very much for joining us. So, we've had many conversations about Aadhaar and that's going at good steam. You've got more than 300 million people enrolled. You're on your way to 600 million. And you've demonstrated what technology can do in one aspect, which is building an identity platform. I just wanted to get your thoughts on what are the new other things that it can do to change our lives, make it more efficient, remove corruption and so on.
Well, as I've been saying earlier too, the current state of technology, the combination of large clouds with limitless capacity, ubiquitous connectivity including broadband, and then the arrival of very user-friendly devices like smartphones and tablets which have touch screens and voice interfaces and all that, have fundamentally created a whole new way of leveraging technology for public purposes. And we see that that's a way to leapfrog in many ways. For example, if everybody has an ID, if everybody has a bank account, everybody has a mobile connection, then they actually have instruments with which they can transact, they can get the benefits, they can travel, and then on top of that you can build other applications. For example, healthcare is an example. You could build a application on the cloud where your health record is portable. So you go from different hospital to different hospital, or you commute, your health record travels with you. Or education, you could, if you're doing a massive skills upgradation program, then you can, provide that remotely on the cloud, take the exam on the cloud, get the certificate. So, the whole paradigm of public service delivery for people like education, healthcare, skills, financial services, all that can be done very differently. So, I think this has huge potential.
Okay. So, I'll put two questions to you. The first is, how is it, can it be, maybe frightening is not the right word, but can the citizen or the resident or the consumer be worried that, how do I access this device? I mean, what if I'm not literate, or even if I'm literate, I'm not able to understand this?
Sure. No, well, I think that's, to my mind, that's an overblown worry, because let's take mobile phones. And, I think the great thing done by the Indian mobile industry has been to put a mobile in everybody's hand. We have 900 million mobiles. Now, how does it work? These people are essentially all prepaid customers. 99% of customers in India are prepaid. And what they do is they walk into an outlet, and there are millions of outlets across the country. They give a certain amount of money to the shopkeeper, maybe 5 rupees, 10 rupees. And in exchange for giving physical cash, they get a digital cash in the mobile phone called talk time, and they go home. They've got it. You can say, how did they understand this talk time, digital time? They figured it out. So, I think once you create a value proposition which is compelling, people will definitely adopt it. I'm not worried about that. If you have to make it simple, a good user experience, but people get it.
Right. So, now on the other side, now what are the services that can be delivered differently, or anything that, I mean, judiciary for instance, I mean, you talked about healthcare, but there are so many other areas where, there are bottlenecks, and can technology solve?
Yeah, obviously, let's take the judicial system now. Obviously, you need courts, you need judges, you need laws, you need lawyers, that doesn't go away. But if you have to create a platform where the judicial cases are managed on the cloud, then you have a way of, for example, when a case moves from judge A to judge B, you can take all the stuff, otherwise it doesn't have to start all over again. Or you can do better scheduling, or you can conduct some cases remotely. Or you can use analytics. For example, you analyze all the cases and find out where are the delays, or if you find, for example, that 40% of the cases are related to check bouncing, then you say, okay, maybe there's a way to better frame the law. So, you can get a feedback loop of learning from data to improve things. And that itself will have a huge impact on many areas, including reducing judicial pendency.
Right. So, data itself is obviously a big challenge, opportunity and task. What can we do there as a country? What are the areas that, the low hanging fruit?
No, I think the way to think about it is that data must be captured at the point of the transaction and must be immediately analyzed. That's how it's meaningful, right? There's no point having a survey 5 years after the event, because that's not going to help you. So, you have to go to this concept of a real time data analytics. For example, let's say that you're rolling out a program, women and child development. We have this ICDS program. Fundamentally, it's about children and their height, their weight, maybe some some attributes, iron levels, all that. You can build a platform to do that, and therefore, when a child comes in for a checkup, you can instantly capture that data and then you can analyze it. So, I think we have to think of it as a real time, instant data collection and analysis way of thinking about it. So, everything can now be done because the sensor, today you have what's called the Internet of Things. So, your phone has a sensor, your shoe has a sensor, your watch has a sensor. So, you can now get into that kind of model for healthcare or for health records, all kinds of things.
Right. So, you've talked about some of the Aadhaar applications. I mean, there's within banking and subsidy distribution and so on. What are the new things that you're thinking of?
Well, right now our focus is using it to deliver electronic benefit transfer, which is both entitlements like scholarships, pensions and NREGA wages, as well as subsidies like energy and so on. That's the big sort of push, because it's important for us to demonstrate a use case, otherwise it's all theory, right? So, we want to demonstrate the use case. Then we are looking at mobile, for example, the mobile industry has a lot of KYC issues and they get fined if they give mobile phones to the wrong people. They now can use Aadhaar as a KYC and issue mobile connections. Insurance companies are looking at using Aadhaar as a KYC to sell insurance products. So, there are lots and lots of apps that railways are looking at it. The railway minister announced in his budget speech, and they are looking at how they can provide services on the cloud, which allows people to get a railway ticket in a more convenient manner using Aadhaar. So, all kinds of thinking is going on out there on how this can be used.
Right, Nandan. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thanks, Govind.
Thank you.